What is up, everybody? 2Bob29 back in the lounge yet again. Make sure to kick back, relax, and grab a whole lot of snacks because today it is the Round Table Volume 7. We are back for 7 whole episodes of the podcast Rebirth. We've got a nice table today, a very widespread table. Looking forward to it tremendously so. A good chunk of stuff to talk about. And I got a lot of diversity here today, thankfully, not just the T&M table anymore, as has been pointed out numerous times. So, going to introduce everybody very, very quickly. They're going to list off their name, their faction, and you can kind of get familiar with who they are representing. So, first up, I've got with me is Mr. B-Rock Gaming. B-Rock, how are you doing today, buddy?
What's up, too, Bob? How's it going? B-Rock faction is not a full-time job, and I've been playing since the very beginning.
Awesome. Very, very stoked to finally have B-Rock on the podcast. I've been trying to work with that for a long time, and finally our schedules have aligned, and B-Rock's pillow was not feeling extra comfy this morning, so he got out of bed on time. Next up, I've got with me one of my ride or dies, so to speak, from TNM himself. So it's not a pure TNM-less table, but I'm stoked to have with me today Mr. Evolution X. How's it going, Evo?
Yeah, good morning, Bob. It's from TNM, and I'm still waiting for that Brutus Barber Beefcake fix. It's almost a year now. Come on, Scope. Pick it up, bro.
Listen, if I can actually push to becoming a real content creator, an official one, and they start listening to these podcasts, the more that you hop onto these intros and keep talking about it, they're bound to hear it one day, right? Like, they have to.
I mean, I'm bound to pull perfect, too, and that still hasn't happened in 6.5 years, so give me that.
All right, well, next up with me, I'm stoked to have him here, hopefully for the duration of the podcast. I know he's got limited time today, but I don't think that we're going to be running over. It is the one, the only, one half of the Champs Chat podcast, Mr. Rusty Graves.
What's up, WWE Champions Universe? It's great to be here with you too, Bob. Honored to be at the round table, and I represent the faction called Toxic Mafia. We're probably the newest in the top 10. We're trying to consistently stay there and learning a lot from the rest of you guys about how to do it.
Yeah, I've been seeing you guys up there quite often, actually. It's really cool to see some fresh and new faces amongst the top. So hopefully that keeps up. I'm actually very interested to hear your takes, not only as a content creator, but as someone who's in a top 10 faction and a new one at that. So really looking forward to the conversation there. We also have another individual who's going to be a little bit late to pulling up the chair, but Sensei Kreese will be joining us a little bit later on today. So just making a quick mention of that. If you start hearing a very thick New York Italian accent, that's going to be from the pizza man himself. And last but certainly not least, for some reason his name still has a Z in it, as if he's still living in Zombies Month, but the heart and soul of this podcast, one of the big reasons why I was able to bring it back, Mr. Southside Envy makes his return today.
Southside Envy from You're on the List, and allegedly there was some noise of a woman screaming in the background unintentionally in last week's podcast, and it was not a good thing, seemingly, so won't happen this week.
Not that type of screaming at all, Envy. That is not what got said. Well, that is everyone for the list today, and there is a lot to talk about because we have so many people today. I'm not going to bring back up the Feud Salvation from 2 weeks ago. I feel like that's a bit far behind us, but we can start the podcast today with a very light subject, at least in my opinion, the Stipulation Tour shop update. So I know a lot of people are going to go, huh? What do you mean there was an update? There's an update. There's also a blog for it. They have included Tamatanga, Jacob Fatu, and Solo Sokoa shards in both the regular Stip Tour shop and the marquee shop. These newly included shards are now 20% off for the first month that they are in the shop. And the next shop update, which should apparently be taking place on February 10th, they're going to be removing shards from the old month. So the final boss, Charlotte Flair, Rex Regum, and then The Miz, Bret Hart, Trish, and Sammy. They will all be removed in February. So just real quick on the surface as we talk about what has happened just about a couple weeks ago with the Stip Tour shop update. My quick little 2 cents from me. I don't think that the shards are a big deal for me in the Stip shops. I think the fact that the genderless straps are now a thing is what's gotten me to start playing Stip Tours on a daily basis so that I can try to get those affiliation straps for promoters now that they are not gender locked. Makes your chances approximately 2 times better to get an affiliation strap for someone that you are missing. So my own take, not really swayed by the shard changes, but I'm curious, what does everyone else here think about the update?
When I saw the update, it reminded me I should play Step Tours again. Not that I'm going after these shards either, but it's actually kind of easy to get in the top 100. So just going out there getting points for kicks is fair. And the fact they're removing these shards, especially Charlotte, it's like they're trying to give away Charlotte now everywhere. That showdown competition prize ball, there was heavy Charlotte shards, heavy Charlotte shards this weekend, and if I can get enough tokens, I might be able to get her.
Yeah, I mean, stipulation tour, I haven't really, once I got all my promoters pretty good on affiliations, most of them too, fortunately, other than just a few. So I play it occasionally. The update shards, I mean, it's a great help for people that are 20, 30, 50 away while they're there. Might as well do it. Doesn't really cost much to do it. They even give away the Marquee Tour tickets now once a week. So, it's valuable for the free-to-play and for those that do chase, just to get them over that edge maybe. But, for me personally, it's not, I don't find it worth the time to put into it, even if it's, even if it's just 20, 30 minutes a day.
Fair enough.
My perspective is I'm not a fan of stipulation tours. However, because my RNG is the worst in the history of champions ever, I actually lucked out with 2 IOW affiliations. So I got one on Cena and I got one on Bradshaw. So that's the only reason that I'm still dabbling in it. I'm not committed to do it every day though.
Okay, the changes in the shards, do they... So, and again, this isn't like to, I guess, point fingers or anything, but in your situation, B-Rock, how many shards are you away from some of these characters? Is this enough to get you to chase those shards?
I have them all.
You have them all?
They're all 6-star gold for me.
Well, that kind of answers
So
that.
the shards do absolutely nothing for me.
So, like, what about Trish? Like, Canadian Trish, you've got her?
Got her.
Yeah.
I actually just pulled her 2 weeks ago on a lucky pull. She came 6-star silver, boom, 6-star gold right then and there.
So before you pulled her, were you close on shards?
I was before I pulled her, I think she was 5,000 and I was at 4,800. It was
okay.
it was that. I would think I was at 4,800. I had bought her shards previously from leftover stuff from prize walls just to slowly build her up because I didn't need her, but she was just one to have that I knew was going to be a CSS sooner more often than not. So I lucked out to get her and then straight to the moon.
So, I mean, I guess just following along that line, just curiosity, when you're at 4,800 shards, were you playing the Marquee Tour and the Stip Tours in order to get those 200 shards before you pulled her?
So I was actually playing for the straps more so than anything else.
Gotcha.
So for me, straps, uh, bits, promoters are more important than specific characters right now because my main thing is Feud,
Sure.
and I have everything I need in order to. I have my roster right now. If I didn't add another champ, I can hold my own in Feud with anybody. It doesn't matter. So I have my designated, we'll just say 10 or 12.
Sure, you've got your hitters.
And now I need to add the little pieces to it. I need to make sure that now I get an opportunity for 150% strap for just say Jacob Fatu, or
Right.
I need 150 strap for Rex Regum. So that's where I'm trying to build what I have, as opposed to my old thought was Pokemon, gotta get them all.
Gotcha.
I don't need them all now.
Gotcha. You're very content with what you got. I can dig it. Before we move on to Rusty here, I'm reading in the chat, and I believe Blueski, like Rusty said, is from Toxic Mafia. Blueski's making a comment: the shards have always been low, but it did help for the final shards of Trish, and it's good if you're under about 100 shards, so cannot complain. So that's pretty kick-ass that we do have a couple people who have recruited something from those shops. Rusty, your thoughts from the Toxic Mafia crew in regards to the Stip shop update regarding the shards.
Yeah, so Stip Shop update. For me, okay, well, here's an observation. There's a shift in the availability of S and S plus tier shards that started, at least I would pinpoint it to the weekend of Zombie Sami Zayn. Zombie LA Knight. Sorry, yeah, Zombie LA Knight's weekend, where we saw shards shift. They've never come back. The S plus tier shards have been taken out of the elite shard loot where they were available. So this new 6-star gold meta, it was fairly achievable to get like that powerhouse Cody Rhodes. It was like there's something has changed. I don't know what. It's not been announced, but it's causing me to realize I'm going to have to go to the marquee shop to find shards for Abby the Witch, for Uncle Howdy, if they end up there. I don't know. People like OTC Roman, right? There's this the supply chain of the S and S plus tier shards have dried up, where they were more available prior to October. But that also makes me realize I'm playing the Stip Tours wrong, because I was starting it like normal mode and just going forward.
Yeah.
And if you assess the availability of the currency in hell mode, it's essentially a waste of time to do anything other than play hell mode for free and then buy back into hell mode. So the marquee shop, I think it's the last available vestige of grind to get, which used to be the strategy for champions. So I guess that's just a few of my loose thoughts on what's going on with the marquee shop.
I can respect that 100%. I mean, I look, like I said too, I'm kind of swinging back into playing Stip Tours on a regular. Now that you get one entry for free, and I play normal, hard, and hell, and I get my daily plays in there. The marquee shop, I think, is a different beast entirely. And to Rusty's point here, the S plus tier shard availability is definitely lessened. I think it's a really weird dynamic. So the very first 6-star gold meta that we had was Gold Vibes in May, where the S plus was Rex Regum and the S tier was Charlotte Flair. And those were two very highly coveted characters in the game. Still to this day, very highly coveted characters in the game. And they're very helpful for a lot of rosters out there. There's no doubt about it. The issue that I have is after that month, it feels like they started working on making it less intense to get those types of characters. Not saying that everybody's running around with them, because obviously they still want to get their money and get their players to invest, whether it's time, resources, or money, into the game for those assets. But it did feel obtainable. And yeah, dating back to October with zombies was very, very rough. November with both Abby, who was brutal to get during her weekend, or Uncle Howdy, who was just a straight up spend event on Black Friday. Some of these characters are very tough to encounter. And I think that that's another change that they have implemented. I think that we've seen 3 different instances of 6-star gold monthlies. There was the very first one that was very, very tough for Rex and Charlotte. There was those after, such as Canadian month, and there was the Julius Creed month, which I'm drawing a blank on now, whoever that month was. There was just the month that we had with Batista Bomb and Mae Young. So there's been a couple of those months that a lot of these characters have been more readily available. And then we hit zombies. And once we hit zombies, boom, 3rd meta shift in 6-star gold. And that's when they start locking it down. And I know that zombies are like, what do they call it? Seasonal, I guess, whatever you want to call it, where it's essentially October and nothing else. But they took that trend and moved forward with it into November. And I think Rusty's pretty spot on that there's a good chance that they're taking that November trend and moving it forward into December. Because the Elite Loot has definitely changed. Those S+ tier shards are not available in it anymore. And I think that they are trying to get everybody to play every aspect of their game where it feels like there's value to every aspect of the game. And I think that's where that marquee shop really comes in handy. For those that are not like, I'm not going to say enormous spenders, but for people that are not subscribed to the club on the portal and won't tell themselves, oh, I'm just going to wait until this character gets released on the portal and spend 700,000 currency. It's not like everybody's coming across 700,000 currency just in their sleep. That doesn't exist. So either you have to commit to playing the game consistently, or in that case, for the club, for those spenders, they got to get to spending if they really want to get those characters 2 months removed from when they got released, so that there's no more 99 MP on them, and so on and so forth. I think it's pretty interesting. I really do. I don't think that the shard update for myself is going to make that big a deal. I'm going to have Tamatonga. I'm going to go above and beyond for someone like Jacob Fatu, which in almost all of the prize wall videos that I do, tell everybody if you don't have him but you're missing shards, to get the shards for him, because he's an absolute freak. And Solo's cool and all, but Solo to me is nothing more than a coach, and that's kind of where it hits hard, that you would have to commit so much time to get these S+ tier characters in the marquee. I do think it's cool that they're giving away free marquee tickets, but it's a tough one. It's really a tough one for players like us to try and walk away with everything. And I think everybody's comments here had a great value to it. I think B-Rock's comments too, of kind of walking away with what he wants and not needing everything, kind of getting rid of that Pokemon aspect, has a great value to it also. Do you really need every S+ tier character? Do you really need to play every single Stip and marquee shop? Maybe not. But that's definitely, it feels like it's trending in that direction for sure. Didn't mean to dominate the conversation there. If anyone else has any other comments about the Stip Shop update, let me know. Or we can go ahead and carry on to the start of the new MLC. Alrighty. Got something, B-Rock?
Yeah, I was gonna say, if they really want to have people really do Stip tours and they want to bring traffic that way. I get the shard aspect of it for the S plus tiers, but be consistent. I will tell you, I am working hard to try to get to LA Nah, because I need him. He's a trainer that I need.
Yep.
But he's not going to be in the Stip tours.
Nah, because he's a zombie.
So, exactly. So, because they pick and choose, I don't have that sense of urgency to play them to get the people that I want and need. And if they don't put them in there, then that just gives me more of a reason to be like, all right, I'm not doing this.
So the shop itself, right? Just taking a peek at it right now. Ilya Dragunov shards are 90,000 currency for 15 of them. Rex Regum are 60,000 for 10 of them, and Solo, because he's the new addition, are 48,000 currency for 10 shards.
Exactly. What is 10, if you really think about it, 10 shards, what is that really going to do? Now, if you say 100 shards, now you have people saying, all right, yeah, I need to go ahead and I need to get this.
So just doing some quick little add-ups here. First place in hell mode, to Rusty's point, of the marquee, if you were to get first place in the entire game, would get you 50,000 currency. And that would total up to essentially that 10 shards of the brand new character that came out. If you were to run the entirety of Hell Mode one time around, you would end up getting 6,200 currency. So if you ran it one time and got first place, you would get about 56,000 currency, and that happens once a week. So,
and how long does the average Stip tour take?
Yeah, marquee tours are still 5 matches long.
But I'm just saying in time. So in time, you're looking at probably 20 minutes.
That's a fair assessment.
So, and again, you got to be first. So you got to run it more than once in order to try to get to first.
Most likely.
So
yeah.
is 10 shards worth an hour of your time?
See, that's where I'll say this. I think they expect us to buy in over and over and over. So not even just, one run through at an hour. Like, I think the expectation is when you have a down moment in the game, you're diving into that Stip tour as the way to kill time and grind and accumulate value. And I think they view it, and I just, this is my speculation, right? I think they view that as, well, it's free, so who cares? We're not going to, you're not paying to do this. Right. So it's a free to play grind. So we can just kind of set it and forget it. And because it's free, yeah, you get 10 shards, but you didn't have to pay for them. So then maybe you get 50 shards after you've been grinding for months, and then finally that superstar you need comes up on the wall. So I just don't like the format or the expectation there is that you're going to grind, 10 plus hours and hope you see some Abby shards 3 months from now and then finally be ready to grab them.
Yeah, I don't think that the value there is enough. I think if everything everyone here said combined was better, then yes. I think if they expected you to grind for 3 months straight type of thing, but you knew you could get maybe 75 Abby shards instead of 10, maybe that would be enough to justify it. Maybe some players during Abby weekend would be like, you know what, as long as I can get within 150 shards, I know that if I play Marquee Tour every single weekend for the next 3 or 4 months that I'll be able to get her when she hits the store. Then there might be enough weight to it. But the fact that it's limited to what it is now, with both the rewards of how many coins they're paying out, the cost of all the coins of all these shards and superstars, and then how many shards they're paying out as a reward, I think that all of that combined is creating for a very frustrating experience. So I guess, and I'm not trying to speak on behalf of anybody else, but it seems like everyone's thoughts are pretty universal in regards to this one, that yeah, there was a Stip Shop update, but it's really not enough to get anyone to have a desire to actually play the Stip Tour. It's just not enough. So hopefully we can see some changes in the near future for Stip Shop. As Rusty has pointed out, definitely should be posted on the forum. Hopefully they will listen to us. And you know what? Like I said, maybe I can make content creator and they start listening to these podcast videos. But anyway, I think that's where we're going to end it on the Stip Shop conversation. So we can move on to the Deck the Brawls MLC contest. Deck the Brawls indeed for December. So lots to talk about here. We have some new characters. We have R-Truth, the Awesome Truth. We've got his own Truth gear, which I think is hysterical because it is the gear where he's got the JD shirt and then he's duct taped on the bottom where it says "and R-Truth." We have JD McDonough making his way into the game for the first time. And we have Lyra Valkyria. That is the B tier, the A tier, and the S tier superstars that we have been informed of. Also, something that I'm sure a lot of people have forgotten already, there was a fan vote, which I'm not going to get into the details of or my own skewed outlook of. I don't like the way that the fan vote is currently working because I don't think it's legitimate. Regardless, the winner of the fan vote was Stone Cold Steve Austin 316. The Striker Attitude Era Stone Cold Steve Austin will be getting a revamp towards the end of the month, and everybody will be able to get a free claim of the brand new revamped Stone Cold Steve Austin. So that is something that is brand new this month. Also, something else to note, if you did get a 5-star R-Truth during the first week of the month, the prize wall that used to contain just 100% strap and a skill plate for the character is now 100% gem damage and 100% move damage strap for the class era of the freebie character. The skill plate as well, and some strap parts. Lot of moving pieces in regards to this monthly. Very curious what everybody's thoughts are on the monthly as a whole. We can definitely go into detail on the characters. There's plenty here to talk about. Very interested to hear what everybody's thoughts on this month are so far.
If you don't mind, and I can go first.
Go for it.
Why Steve Austin? Why? Just why?
I voted for Eddie.
I get it, okay, but as much as we recycle the same characters, as much as we do that, there's can we get a little bit more diversity in regards to who we revamp and who we remake? Because they just announced that they're redoing RVD again and Macho, so it's like, can we get I don't even know. Can we? Let's look at some of these people who are at the bottom of everybody's list. I mean, of everybody's rosters. And I'm not saying Ryback, but can we get somebody other than the same people over and over again?
I mean, it's tough because they're trying to get us to take up some characters that are not so good for some updated trainers and coaches, and that's why Strowman got a rework, and a coach rework, I should say. Zombie Kevin Owens got an entourage upgrade. Phenom Undertaker got an entourage upgrade. Undisputed Future Seth with the entourage upgrade, and now we have both of the blue gem damage guys for RVD and Macho Man for their entourage upgrade. That was pretty much the whole rework. They're just giving them upgraded trainers and coaches. I don't really know what to say about that.
Listen, I don't want to insult the intended audience of this podcast, but just scroll. Pick someone else. If you just scrolled and looked down, there was a whole list of people. Just why the first one?
So, all right. So I'll leave my thoughts on the fan vote. I purposely voted 2 minutes after the vote went live. I voted as quickly as I possibly could, like as quick as humanly possible, because I wasn't aware that the vote was live, and I was like, you know what? I think it was Thursday or something like that, or whatever it was, whatever day it was, and I decided let me go and check the fan vote because I see that it actually says something new, and it was there. There was a brand new fan vote. I voted instantly, like a minute or two after it had gone live. And the percentages that had changed from my vote to the final vote, it was a grand whopping total of 2 characters had gone up 1% and 2 characters had gone down 1%. And I don't think that the entirety of the community by that point in time had all voted just a couple of percent within what happened out the very gate. It didn't make sense to me that everybody had votes on them when the vote had only been live for a minute or two, let alone that some were at 3%, 4%, 7%, 1%, and then, yeah, there's the 2 at the front, which were over 20 and over 30%. And again, I don't have proof of it, and you could say it's 2 Bob's conspiracy theory of the podcast, but I absolutely 100,000% think that the vote was loaded and that they knew that they were going to get Austin 316, the revamp. That's the only thing that I think, and I honestly, I cannot be convinced otherwise. That's my own take. So I wish they would have just told us Austin was getting a revamp instead of trying to make it seem like there was a fan vote, and then the fans that voted didn't actually change the vote for the duration of like 48 hours. Big letdown for me. I saw you unmuted, Evo. You good over there? It looks like Evo's having audio troubles.
Can you hear me now?
There we go.
Yeah, I voted for Taker personally. Love the old school outfit and the gloves, big purple gloves. I'm a little disappointed that we got another Austin upgrade or whatever. But I'm not going to wear the tinfoil hat on that one, but it does sound pretty good.
That's fair. Like I said, I know it's me. I know it's my thoughts. I'm not saying that they're accurate. It's just my outlook. That's all. But
what they do need to do though, like you said, you know, Acro, Joe and whoever, they're both pretty bad. Card that's halfway decent. If you're gonna upgrade their entourage ability, at least make them usable at 6-star gold. They're not. They won't be. Even with the plethora of plates and upgrades that we have, and maybe you might be able to get something decent, but that's a lot of resources to ask people to take the star gold for an entourage ability that really we have or in better cards. Yeah. So it's not like something that's going to be a game.
Yeah, I'd like to see some changes for sure.
Like when they did what's his name, the green guy. They gave him 2 blue MP, create more green gems.
Oh, Razor.
Yeah, see, that's worth it. And they only made that, I think, 2,600 if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
So I mean, you know, the balance of what you're getting for going that far is not really worked out too well.
No, I'll be happy to circle back on those updates too and talk more about it when we get to this weekend's feud stuff, because I do agree. I think that on the prize walls they're trying to market this whole 5-star gold character, but you need to take them all the way to 6-star gold for that upgraded entourage. it just doesn't feel justifiable. It feels so underwhelming to be like, yeah, this trainer is good, this coach is good. I can see myself taking them up to 6-star gold. Let me go ahead and get them off the prize wall, and it's a 5-star gold. And that just even from 5-star gold to 6-star gold, it's not enough. It's not enough to justify. Forget the shards, because the majority of these characters, you probably have the shards up. Like, you probably have 12,000 shards to take them from 5 gold to 6 bronze to 6 silver to 6 gold. You probably have the shards, but the amount of coins, the amount of TP, the amount of tokens, that's where it's not worth it. That's where it feels like really bad. That's not enjoyable. So if they had, like RVD this weekend, if they had a 6-star gold to him on the wall, then you still need to take him up. Like, you still got to invest the coins, you still got to invest the TP to take him up to the talent level. It's not like, oh, I have him 6-star gold now, so now he's automatically 35,000. Like, you still got to invest in him. That's where I think there's a hit and miss.
So I'm going to borrow your tinfoil hat with this. I feel like they're really trying to drain the swamp a little bit. I mean, as a spender, I spend a lot. Yeah. My TP numbers are really low, and they're getting lower, and they seem to focus on certain colors occasionally, which really hurts. So, and then the coin alone, if, like you say, if you do that in a prize wall and you get this card, it's a net loss on coin and TP with anything you can get from the wall.
Yeah.
So it's not really worth it. It's really not worth it at all.
It's a tough spot, and like I was saying, we'll definitely go more into detail with all that when we hit the feud weekend. But I'll kind of bring us a little bit back on track in regards to the MLC stuff. So back to the MLC related stuff, we do have 3 brand new characters. The month is mainly centered around column break gems, just like last month was centered around row break gems. I feel like it's probably a bad time to ask it because of all the skill plates that got released, which we'll talk about the Devil's Drip when we hit the first weekend, and we'll talk about the Yeet plate when we hit the Jey Uso contest, the 12 Jeys of Christmas. But if it weren't for those plates, does anyone here think that they would be, I guess, interested in column break gem characters if those plates didn't exist? Like, was your hype level for heading into this month hype? Were you happy? Were you looking forward to it before those skill plates went live?
No, because those gems really aren't worth anything in the current meta, and I hate using that term, but in the current, they're just not worth anything. Blowing up the board once is nothing.
Yeah. At this point,
no matter
in the
how
game,
much
for sure.
No matter how much you boost them, it's not going to out. Now, like you said, with the new plate and the drip and adding another whole board of 7x7 with the multis does help, obviously. But alone, no. I mean, just like color turn gems, it just, when you blow up the board, no matter how much you boost, 49 gems, it doesn't add up where you got to hit 70.
I mean, it reminds me of the Blast Gems because we got the Titan plate for the Blast Gems, and that was helpful for the initial part. And then in reality, it's almost like you need to use that Titan plate on anybody that has Blast Gems, period. And if you don't, then it's like they're just not worth it. So it's really odd to me because, Blast Gems are essentially the same. Blast is the same as Row and Column Break, it just breaks the board. But a lot of those characters who have Blast Gems are typically powerhouses, and a lot of those powerhouses typically have some type of boost to their gem damage. So it's really interesting, kind of the dynamic to all of it. At least, again, this is my own take. But yeah, I mean, we've got a lot of column break centric stuff this month. R-Truth has a 7x4 area of column break gems. His gear gives column break gem damage. There's a moment with him and JD where R-Truth gets kicked out of the Judgment Day, where there's a lot of column break damage on that as well. Lyra herself, even though she has a couple of gem damage boosts, also has column break gem damage. So there's a lot of column break stuff this time around that they're actually trying, at least to me, to make it feel like there's enough of a boost to want to get to use these characters.
In their defense, I'm going to say after 7 years, I know they had a vote recently or within the last 2 years where they tried to introduce new gems. I think this is where we got to. Right now, there's only so many different ways of coaches and entourages, boosts and all that you make color turns and all these special gems outside of multis and gem damage valuable. So I think it's time to, drip gem, the splashdown gem, or get something going where we got some kind of new mechanic. And that's what I look forward to. I'm hoping that's where they're going. But like you said, they're in a corner now because 7 years and pushing so many cards a month every year. It's only so much you can do with what we have.
I think that when they came out with Juggernaut gems, that was their big hoorah, their big attempt at trying to make a new gem. And it was pretty strong when they first came out. That's why they made Streakberg such a difficult coach to obtain, because he was so beneficial for those characters at that point in time for having another Juggernaut gem. But yeah, it feels like we're, I don't know, it feels like we're missing something. I feel like I know a lot of people hated on Steel Cage rules, but I almost feel like there needs to be a Steel Cage rules boost, because everyone really only remembers Steel Cage rules for the downsides and for the things that you couldn't use. People don't remember that Steel Cage rules used to actually boost things too. So I feel like that could be a way you could see some life being brought back via the Steel Cage rules boosts if you had plus 800% column breaks, plus 3000% color turn, plus 4000% silence gem, like things along those lines. And a lot of people are forgetting that they had the bonuses with Steel Cage rules outside of just, oh, I can't use skill plates, oh, I can't use moments, things like that. So I think that the innovation, I guess, like what you're talking about, Evo, I feel like it exists. I just don't feel like it's being implemented into the game right now.
I personally love that Steel Cage, regardless of all the negatives that were brought up about it. I felt that really breathed a lot of life to using any kind of character. You could take out, some old school real hoopers and really breathe some life into them and make them usable, which is fun to me. I wish they would really do that more often instead of just doing showdowns 15 times a month or whatever it is.
Yeah, that's a different beast. I really hope that my tower idea with some Steel Cage rules implementations will make its way to the game. That'd be a lot of fun. But anybody else in regards to the monthly as a whole, we could start talking about R-Truth as a character. I think Rusty even left a quick little screenshot of 2 purple moves saying it's fun to use R-Truth that way. I know that Rusty and Lee did just power rate JD and Lyra last night, so something we can go over there as well. Anybody's thoughts on the month as a whole or as the characters? I'm still very curious because there's a lot to go over here.
I've got something to add on the special gem type before we move past that. So,
sure.
As I was free to play in Champions for probably 6 years because all of my money went towards competitive Magic the Gathering. That was the game I spent on. And in game theory, you start to see that games are they're one of two things. They're either balanced or they're broken, right? So for a game to be balanced, you have to support every mechanic in the game in ongoing cycles. And so it seems like they're starting to figure out that we're seeing like a focus on both a special gem type and specific colors as a key theme in the MLC. But as we're seeing, there's some there's some disproportionate power levels across special gem types. Therefore, I think what they're starting to do is they're adding to the Piper plate strategy or the drip plate strategy. And we're seeing it even this month with the Yeet plate given 500%.
Yeah.
To column breaks in the Devil's Drip, giving 7 multis. But that's like the floor of what these outdated specialty gym types are going to need to even address their relevancy in the game. So I'm hoping this is a cycle that continues. I'm hoping we see them, maybe they need to circle back to row break and say, like, how do we give 500% or 7 multis when row breaks are made? How do we do that with leech gems? How do we take, we know all specialty gem types are not the same. They are certainly not the same.
Of course.
And so I'm hoping they're starting to deepen their understanding of game theory and of balance, and that they're actually on to something. So
yeah, I think the issue with the row breaks, to kind of piggyback off of that, right? We do have this plate, the Yeet plate this month is 500% for columns, and last month we had 50% for row breaks, right? It's almost like they forgot a zero type of thing, and that's just rough.
really. Yeah, totally agree. That was a really weird game design, and probably not even as valuable as a Sheik plate for green. What they're doing for a green plate.
Yeah, I can agree with that too. That the buzzard plate, it just felt like a copy of the Bubba glasses, but instead of purple, they just changed the color to green. That was the first thing that I said when I saw it. It's a green Bubba's glasses. So yeah, I mean, I feel like they're definitely missing on some of these skill plates, and honestly missing, like we were talking about, a lot of these gem types were very useful and helpful when the game was early on in its infancy, right? Like Big Kev with column breaks, if you could add column breaks to him with Trickster Farouk, and before there was minus MP and Showdown, you could use the Outsiders Tag Link, you could use Sting, who was a 4 red MP trainer, and that would get you enough MP for your red move to be loaded so that you can load up your black move, which is a choose column break gen move, and you could break the entire board. Just doing enough gem damage of breaking a board full of 7 column break gems was enough to fully wipe your opponent's health pool. Nowadays, that's not even remotely close to what you're experiencing. So a lot of those gem types used to be the same. They really feel old and outdated. And characters like, for example, Trickster Edge with the Leech Gems, they really have been left so far behind in the dust. And I think a lot of players had initially wanted to see some type of Leech Gem trainer or coach where it increased the value of the leech and not the damage of the gem underneath the leech. And so when they came out with their 100% leech gem damage trainers and coaches and all that jazz, they were expecting to see some big increases and some big upgrades, and they didn't get it. It was just a little bit of gem damage. That really soured people on leech gems as a whole. Also, just to kind of piggyback on here for new gem types, I don't even know if people remember that freeze gems are a thing. Like, does anyone even remember freeze gems? Those are old. They're newer gems. They were brought out on NWO Big Show, on King Booker T. Those don't even get remotely close to used anymore. I don't even think there's 5 characters in the game who use freeze gems. There was just nothing to it. So it's a really odd experience with these gem types that, kind of what Rusty said, not all of them are made equal. And I'm not trying to say they all need to be made equal, but there needs to be some value and viability to just about every one of them. Otherwise, it's not worth having as a gem type. Maybe that's just me, but that's kind of my take on it. Like, when was the last time that you used somebody with silence gems for gem damage? You probably don't. You probably just don't. When was the last time that you used somebody for leech gems for damage? You probably haven't. So it's a weird experience. Last month being row breaks, this month being column breaks. I'm hopeful that they continue to move forward in a positive direction with trying to bring these old specialty gem types back to life. I'm really hopeful for it. That being said, that's kind of my whole take on the month as a whole. So I'm really looking forward to what the rest of the month kind of has in store. I would like to get myself another Yeet plate if it's possible, because it is a very strong and upgrading plate. But that's kind of it for me on the month as a whole. Envy, I saw you unmuted. Do you have something to talk about our monthly? Oh, did Envy lose audio also? Oh, Envy might have lost audio also.
I just wanted to just add one more thing on to what you said about making those gems relevant. They can do whatever they want. They could make them the most relevant gems in the world. But as soon as they go up another rarity, like to 7 bronze or another 6 level, and if they double the gem damage and they double the health, they'll go right back into irrelevancy again.
Yeah, it all circles back to the bonuses, right? It's all going to circle back to gears, moments, skill plates, things like that to try and buff them to being viable. Because the only things that will scale through a new change in rarity is multiply gems or gem boost moves. That's pretty much it. You there, B-Rock? I feel like people's audios are cutting in and out.
No. I'm here. I'm here.
There we go.
So, question: if we take the community as a whole, and you probably Rusty would know better than I do, but what's the average roster size? If you really think about it, is it like 8 million, 7 million, or am I shooting too high?
I truly don't know. Maybe 8 million, I think, is a fair mark.
Rusty, would you say 8 million?
So, gosh, it's hard to know because they won't ever release information on the community. Like, I don't know how many active players there are, but it seems to me like about the top 5,000 max the MLC, and everybody outside of the top 5,000 is struggling to. If that's true, I would say if the top 5,000 are maxing the MLC, they're probably somewhere at or over 6 million. I mean, I would think as the floor, yeah, that player base is probably 6 million plus, depending on the time they've been playing the game.
Yeah.
So, and I've said this before, to Bob. Sometimes we are viewing the game from the penthouse as opposed to the middle floor.
Yeah.
And when I say that, it's because not to crap on anybody's shine or anything like that, but when we all saw our truth, we were like, oh my God, this card is awful. When we initially saw our truth, we were like, Jesus, such a great character on TV and everything else. They just gave him a load of crap. And after 99 MP, nobody's going to use him. So does this type of thing where they're spanning in row break gems and column break gems for these type of characters help the average person? Because a lot of us, we already know we're never going to use him. If you look at modern Trickster, he's not somebody you're going to use.
I mean, I'd argue, actually, no, I kind of like him. He's not going to be in my rotation, obviously, but he does a lot of move damage and does damage quick. And you're not going to use him competitively, probably, but for
Right.
TSS or doing tours, or I think he's a huge help for a lot of newer players. Because it's just the easy set up a strat and some move damage on him, it's good to go. And to mention the average of players, so I know we have Bunders. I think he's what, 7 months, Bob?
Yeah, 7.5 months in.
Yeah, I know he spends a decent, I think, amount.
Yes.
And he's already at about 7, right? So, I would say Rusty's right on point. I mean, an average player, depending on lifespan, 2 years, 3 years, should be right around 6, 7, 8 million.
Yeah, I think that 6, 7, 8 mil is the average spot for a good chunk of players. And B-Rock, I'll kind of play on both sides of the fence here with what you're saying. I know a lot of folks were on the side of what you were saying when they first saw what R-Truth looked like, that a lot of people were like, ew, no. But I also think that was very skewed because people were hoping that they would get an amazing R-Truth. When I first saw R-Truth, I knew he wasn't going to be a world beater. It's not like he's going to be a William Regal. But for me, when I first saw him with the flat amount of damage he did every time that he broke a trap gem, that was enough damage for me to see as a free-to-play character. It kind of stinks that it's a little bit limited and capped out because I like kind of discovering and uncovering the potential of what a character can truly do. That's why I looked into Batista so much, because he has so many additional, avenues that he can explore, where R-Truth really didn't when he first came out, before all the plates and all that wonderful stuff. But R-Truth was still good enough with his trap gems to kind of beat everything that was a non-6-star gold. And so I think there's still value to that 6 mil, 7 mil, 8 mil player for getting this free-to-play R-Truth without the gear, without the moment, without the skill plates, that they can still do enough damage. It just won't beat everything in the game. And I don't think free-to-play characters really should beat everything in the game. I think that's maybe that's just a me thing. But I think that's understandable. They shouldn't really be giving out B tiers or C tiers that could wipe the floor with everybody's Omega characters that they've spent hundreds or even thousands of dollars on throughout, the weeks, months, and years to build them up to be this Omega Voltron of a character, right? So I kind of get it on both sides of the fence there, where a lot of people were like, not really good. And maybe this is just to what you're talking about too, to kind of circle back to your original point of the penthouse versus the regular person. Maybe we're just viewing this from and again, I'm not trying to speak on anyone's behalf. Maybe I'm just viewing this from a different aspect, where I already know that I'm not going to use him in a competitive game mode. I already know that I'm not going to use him in Feud to take out 60, 70, 80, 90 million health characters as my opponents. And I'm okay with that because he could take out everything else in every other game mode.
Right. So, but here's the difference, and you're in a specific competition, and I'll just specifically talk to Feud.
Sure.
You don't face the average. You face the elite.
Very
Majority
true.
of the people in here face the elite. There's very few times where you're gonna run across somebody who, I don't know, I'm just gonna say has 6. You're feuding against somebody who's loading in 6. And they have 2 fodder in there, which people still do. I don't understand it, but they still do it. And then you're sitting here and you're one-clicking through that roster in 7 minutes. Where the average person, and I speak of this because I have average people in my faction.
Sure.
I have a bunch of average people. I have a bunch of free-to-play. But when you see that you have different characters that come out that they want to boost, and it's the hot topic or the hot character of the month, which I wholeheartedly get, because everybody needs to. It's a business. The disconnect between, I think, the average folks, you all, and Scopely is huge. It's huge
Sure.
because the average person doesn't have 100,000 TP to load in. The average person has probably got 20,000 TP.
Sure. So,
And I joke with you all the time,
yeah.
because I call you Mr. 305 because at one point in time you had like 305,000 TP for each color.
Yes.
And that I'm not gonna lie, it irked my soul, because I'm like, what the hell am I doing wrong? Because I'm looking at this. And at the time, I'm not your average. My roster obviously is way more than 8 million. But I think that when Scopely does some of this stuff, they look at, okay, let's try to give the average something, but at the same time, they don't really play to the average. They say, hey, we're going to give you average, but the people who and lack of a better term, the big spenders and things like that who carry most of the game aren't going to really appreciate it unless we do, oh, this guy needs 2 moments, 2 gear, and these plates.
So
does that make sense?
Yeah. So the issue that I think I have here is, like you're saying, I am so already accustomed to, quote unquote, viewing things from the penthouse that I'm probably not the best person to have like this type of conversation or back and forth with, which is why I try to bring other people instead of TNM onto the table. So I know I have Sensei Kreese here. I know I have Envy here, who are both in here on the list. Rusty's here today, part of Toxic Mafia. And you yourself are part of Not a Full-Time Job. I think the issue is that everybody here that's on the table, regardless of what faction they're in, they're not in average factions. And maybe I'm crazy. I don't think there really is an average anything out there. Even for Sensei Kreese and Envy, even for yourself. And yeah, you mentioned you have some free-to-play players. It's understandable. I don't think there's such a thing as an average player out there. I feel like the majority of all of us are at some point in our game, some way or another, above average. And there's people that just are below average. And that's okay too. There's nothing wrong with it. But I just don't think that there's a fair median. Maybe I'm wrong for saying that. Maybe Envy or Sensei or Rusty can shine some light on it from their own perspective too, but that's kind of where I'm viewing this. And I mean, look, if any of you guys want to chime in and hop on in, please do.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Oh, well, I guess good, I'm back. So I think the players, for me, the new characters come out, and while this month is a disadvantage to last month, is I'm a wrestling fan, so I like the wrestlers that I like. So when you come out with the Riot 6, I'm all in. I don't care if you're doing rope breaks, column breaks, leech gems. I would have got them all if I could. But when you come out with R-Truth, JD McDonough, and Laura Valkyria, hope you got something better in the chamber. Because this ain't it. So these rope breaks, I mean, I got the Manscaped plate, and I still don't want to use these rope break people. Not a one of them. Not a soul. After this 99 MP's over, I don't want to use not one of those 3 people.
Yeah, that's good feedback, and I think so I think I have a lot of interaction with the lower ranked factions in the community, just from being on stream or hearing the feedback on our podcast and content. Typically we try to make it, we've always said we want to try to make it for the guy who's still trying to max the MLC. That's who we try to like make builds for and assume we understand some of their roster nuance. But I'll say this, right? Like, sometimes I think our expectations are that we're going to have some world beaters when, in reality, our truth is probably a fun upgrade to a lot of rosters. I think about there's one guy that I have a lot of interaction with. He's always showing me his roster, asking for whatever feedback, and right. So he's got Ozzy, and Ozzy's far and away his best trickster. So he doesn't necessarily need our truth to be his be all end all trickster, but it upgrades his entourage a little bit. It gives him someone that's not painful to play the game with this month. And he has fun animations, and he's a really likable superstar on TV, so that helps. I think that this month, if we look at it through, I've been trying to discern what is the theme. I think the theme is let's add new superstars to the game, and let's celebrate Raw moving to Netflix. And they've not said any of those or put any of that information in the blog. I'm just trying to read between the lines and see what cacophony of nonsense is this? What's the tie that binds these superstars together? Oh, they're all on Raw. Oh, they're all kind of currently in the mid card, but on TV, and they've not. Now, R-Truth has been in the game, but not this R-Truth that's like a fan favorite. The Judgment Day, Awesome Truth, R-Truth. So yeah, I don't know. Like, that's what I'm just trying to figure out, like, is my buddy, like, Hip Designer going to, how is he interpreting this month? And I think he's having a great time with it, and those like him, and those that are at that roster level and that level of engagement. And the Devil's drip plate feels, and I know we're going to go on to this in a minute, it feels like you can take that little upgrade and add it to the freebie and have a lot of fun this month, even if you don't YOLO these guys to 6 gold.
As someone who has YOLO'd them to 6 gold already, outside of R-Truth, right? I think JD McDonough is getting a bad rap. He's actually pretty solid. You don't see it on the, you can't make the flashy video with it because, you do the move damage based on column breaks, and then you do the gem damage, and he's doing 100 million, and he will do that post 99 MP. Granted, that is with the Devil's Drip, which helps break a whole nother board. But, I mean, I don't think that was so hard to. He has the moment that helps with a little bit of it too. That came out last week with him.
Yep.
He's not bad. We also just got Powerhouse upgrades like crazy. I mean, no one's mentioned Powerhouse Hogan, and that's absolutely wild. But our Powerhouse right now, especially, it went from a real bad point to a good strong point in our roster. You look at Lyra too, and she's an female modern acro. We don't have enough of those already.
Yeah.
So she's not gonna knock your socks off, but she's doing 90 million without multi-jump, and it's just a few clicks, and the animations are fast. I think, from like Sal's point that was brought up, people kind of miss that fact because these cards will really upgrade a lot of rosters and do something different that we don't already do. To make a card relevant without multi-gems is hard to do, and I think they accomplished it with Lyra, personally.
I agree. I think that this month, while yes, to Rusty's point, it seems like it's the Raw theme, and that's a really loose, weird-looking theme this month. I think that this has quite a bit of value for a lot of players out there. I know that a lot of the very tippy top end will probably not use these characters moving forward. Like R-Truth for Modern Trickster, like B-Rock has pointed out. Like Lyra for Acro Modern Female for, what Evo just pointed out. or JD for Powerhouse, when we literally just got a revamped Raphael, a brand new zombie CM Punk, and an Omega upgraded Powerhouse Hogan. There's a lot of things out there that these characters don't feel like they do that we don't already have people doing. So I get that the appeal for the tippy top, to kind of circle back on what B-Rock mentioned of the people in the penthouse, will probably not go out of their way to use it. It feels very similar to when Showboat Solo Sikoa came out. Is Solo Sikoa strong? Yeah, Solo Sikoa is strong. Do you already have a modern era Showboat male who can do more damage than Solo Sikoa? Yes. Do they need things that are brand new to get worked up? No. Whereas Solo essentially needed all the new stuff that month. Solo needed Mae Young, Solo needed Batista, Solo needed a bunch of new stuff that came out in order to make him strong, where you already really had a bunch of good Showboat males that you kind of just by proxy overlooked the brand new thing. And so a lot of, again, the penthouse players, which I guess is a good way of calling it, don't really feel the need to go above and beyond to getting these new things other than the Pokemon effect, right? And maybe that's just me, and I don't really know or have a perfect answer for it because everybody plays the game at a different level. But they're definitely still very strong characters. There's definitely still a lot of value in each and every one of them. But their trainers and coaches definitely seem very this month centric. It's all about column breaks. They all boost column breaks. R-Truth is damage and MP. JD is generation. Lyra's damage. Like, it's all column breaks. It's all about this month. So I think it's interesting. I think that it's a good change of pace. I also think what Rusty said too has some great value to it if they continue through with it. I want to see them try and bring back to life some of these old specialty type gems. And I think this is so far a good way and a good month of attempting to do just that. Anything else on the month as a whole, I guess, before we move forward to the Sleigh Bell Slam showdown weekend with the new skill plate and the JD moment? Because I know we were kind of slipping in a couple comments about the moment and the plate and whatnot.
So Bob, look, I'm gonna say this. I love JD. I love JD. And I know it's 99% right now. 99 MP, excuse me, right now. But the way JD works, and again, he's not, if we look past 99 MPs, he's not going to be one of my go-tos, I don't think. I'm really going to have to look at it at that point. But he's a powerhouse. He doesn't rely on blast gems. He does a ton of damage. That is a great card.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not S+. He's an above average card. So now, if we can do that with some of these older cards that we quote revamp, I think that would bring a lot more to the game. And just to backtrack a tiny bit, like if they did something like that with, Striker Austin, which almost everybody has, now you're getting people to invest resources or econ, and this is for Rusty, shout out to Goldie. But then now that makes that a decent character than somebody just sitting on the bottom of the bench.
Well, like they did with Rowan, who is, by the way, people forget that what they did with him, he's absolutely top line valuable with him now.
He's very good.
Yeah, Rowan Powerhouse.
Yep.
Yeah. So I think that is where we can get some of these if we revamp them to add some of these other gems that we're concentrating on to that mix, maybe that's where, you know, they can use it as a test market and still give people in the penthouse great characters, and giving average people who already have the character the ability to upgrade if they spend a little bit or they grind a little bit. That way, not everybody, or there's no group that feels left out.
I do feel like, yeah, they've created this month again to help just about every group out there. Um, and I think, like, again, to kind of steal your own line here, B-Rock, the penthouse players aren't really going to be utilizing most of these characters once the month is over, once the 99 MP wears off, things like that. I think that Lyra definitely has a spot moving forward as a non-multiply gem user who uses column breaks, gem boosts. She's super duper strong, but it doesn't seem like there's a necessity for the tippy top to have to use these characters. That being said, they're all still really good and can be used after the month is over. And I definitely, I would be amiss if I didn't mention that.
You know, that's the difficulty that Scopely has, and that we don't actually, I personally don't give them credit for. Is you have a broad base of players, free to play, new, old, established, all that stuff, and they have to make events to where everyone feels like they can, you know, they can do what they can do, you know, and enjoy doing it. So it you know, eventually, you know, you can only bring out so many CM Punk, these, you know, zombie CM Punk, so many superstar characters, and there's, you know, there's only so many spots at the top. So as they bring out more and newer players, hopefully, and broaden our player base, which, you know, hasn't really been. It seems like lately, to be honest, it's growing. Where at the bottom, by not playing an event, honestly, where we got 25,000, 30,000 people playing it now, which where we didn't have that many recently. So I think it's, you know, helping a little bit with the newer characters who, you get this character, you're good with the powerhouse. You don't need to go after the cards that are really difficult to get outside of their release month. So I think that's their balance that they're trying, and they do a really good job at that. It's just a matter of, you know, as we're speaking, like you said, at this table, it's a lot of the upper tier players that have been here around for a minute, so it's hard to view it that way.
Yeah, it is. It is a little bit tough for sure when we've all already played at such a high level, you know. But I think we'll leave the MLC at that. We've been on that for a minute. We can definitely, however, move forward to the showdown weekend itself. The Sleigh Bell Slam Showdown weekend. The introduction of that Devil's Drip skill plate, or as Envy loves to call it, something that I will not be clipped saying, and the introduction of the new JD moment where the loser leaves Judgment Day match. The Showdown weekend was a success for a lot of players. A lot of new things that some players got to get onto their rosters, whether it was a new plate, whether it was a new moment, whether it was some new characters from the shards that people got to receive from the wall itself. I myself made a prize wall video that definitely hurt because of how much I ended up spending for it, because there was quite a bit on that wall that I wanted to walk away with, which I did. There was also a 100% move damage strap for JD McDonough, which was very weird to me because I feel like he's a gem damage guy, but maybe I'm completely wrong on that. The showdown was a male-female showdown this time around. Had to break some red gems, had to break some purple gems, had to do some damage with R-Truth, Sami Zayn, Hogan, and the Judgment Day. Just some standard showdown stuff for the majority of it, but for me, the prize wall was not so standard. There was also a lot of tours for a showdown weekend. almost a dozen of them. But the main items for discussion in regards to this is going to be the Devil's Drip skill plate. Whenever you generate 6 or more column break gems, you will generate 7 multiply gems of strength 7. I found it personally hysterical that after about 2 years of no drips, no drips, no drips, no drips, no drips. All right, drip plate is back for Black Friday event. All right, the Friday right before Showdown goes live, the Thursday before Showdown goes live on Friday, we're coming back with the Black Friday loot again so that you could try to pull another drip plate. Oh, and by the way, we have another drip plate coming out this weekend. Instead of the Dominator's drip, it's called the Devil's drip. And instead of using a black move, it's just generating column break gems. So I found that hysterical that once they realized they could make big money on it again, here we go, and there's another drip plate. And the moment itself, the loser leaves Judgment Day match moment, has all the Judgment Day characters in it. Rhea, Priest, Finn, Dominic Mysterio. It has JD McDonough, and it has R-Truth, both of the 2 new characters. 50% purple gem, 50% gem defense, 150% traps, column breaks, and countdown gem damage. So lots to talk about for the Showdown weekend. As we've already alluded to, the skill plate itself, very intriguing on a few people, including the free-to-play R-Truth. Curious what everybody's thoughts are on the Sleigh Bell Slam Showdown.
I enjoyed the Showdown. I didn't expect to spend this month. I said I'm done after last month, and they suckered me in. That Manscaped plate was so cheap that I had to go out and drop a mega just to bring it home for no reason. So I got it. I'm not putting the Manscaped on anybody. I'm not using the Manscaped on anybody. They can use it on themselves. But I did get it, and I got some Howdy shards. I probably could have got Charlotte if I really wanted to, and not got the plate and the Uncle Howdy shards, but it gave me a lot of options. I really felt good about it, and I probably would have spent more if I really cared to bring anybody else home, but it was good enough to bring me out of a week-long retirement from spending.
A week-long retirement. All right.
7 days, huh? Oof. I'm going to be brief on this one. I was moving last week, so I had very limited. And that weekend couldn't come at a better time for me. It was literally an hour and a half. I had maxed the event. I didn't do any pulls until Sunday, actually, where it actually could max the solo spend event. I did like 2. So it was a good event where, for me, where I didn't have a lot of time. The prize wall had everything on it besides the Devil's Drip, to be honest. I know we had talked about it before. I wasn't really. It felt like the prize wall was another repeat. But in retrospect, looking at all the prices of everything, getting a moment for the price after the white 6 fiasco was refreshing. And bringing out the drip again is kind of hilarious. I find it good because we have always talked about where, man, if they just, you know how much money they leave on the table if they would just bring this or X back or that back. They finally did it, so I give them kudos on that one, to be honest, instead of, knocking it a little bit personally. But the event, solid. It wasn't the doors was a little overwhelming, like you said. But the showdown, it wasn't crazy with the requirement, other than using like Judgment Day Priest. Yeah, that was not fun. But that's it for me.
Everyone ended up using Judgment Day Priest on that. Maybe I was a weirdo, but I got the Judgment Day damage done by using Batista. Shout out Batista Bomb yet again. Another viability, reason for me using him. Set up a bunch of power gems and then tagged in Judgment Day Rhea, and then just swiped for like 70 million damage. It was great.
Well, like I said, if I was around to hear that, that would have been a great option. I would have done it. But I was in between moving furniture up and downstairs,
This is
and pulling over.
very true. Congratulations on the move also.
Lights in the penthouse again. That's all we're hearing from you. Lights in the penthouse.
You damn right. Trust me, I went Christmas tree shopping. It's the penthouse over here with the money they want for it. But sorry, got
congratulations on the movie, though. Sensei, talk to me about your thoughts on Showdown.
Well, I generally like Showdown better than Feud just because the gameplay works for me personally, like how the events are structured. But I was just kind of disengaged. I mean, I did everything. I got all the points I could. I actually hit 1.8 million, which recently has been easier than it had been previously, which is good.
All right.
It was just another weekend. This month is just bleh for me. Like, I mean, maybe I'll try and get one of those Devil's Drip, whatever the hell it's called, the new
Yeah.
plate, because then I can put it on Powerhouse Goldberg.
Hell
Who is
yeah.
back, baby. He is back.
He
all right?
is. He's doing like 70 mil.
Throw that sucker on a plunger. Watch how the fireworks don't happen still.
Yeah, watch it fizzle out. B-Rock, talk to me. Thoughts on the showdown? The drip plate, the moment. What's up?
So, I got it all. So I have the plate. I have the moment.
I feel like the more that you keep talking about these penthouse players, that you're just also hanging out just behind a closed door,
Well, you know what? So I normally work the weekends. So my roster could be TNM material. It could be. At the same time, I don't play enough consistently, and I refuse to. So that's why it's not a full-time job. It's just simple plug there. But for the fact that they brought out a quote second tier drip, I gotta be honest with you, it annoyed the hell out of me.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, because I'm one of the few people. I think Evo has two as well. Like, there's a very few of us that had two. So I felt really good about what I had. I had a bunch of stuff that not everybody else had. So I was really in tune to having it. Now more people have it. So now I'm a little upset.
That they're coming out with more drip plates.
Yeah. No. Let us be special.
You can't short me on that. I have 8 drips now, by the way, just so you.
Now, I'm talking before this, you had 2.
I had 6 before. I got 2 more.
Okay.
This
so
is what I deal with.
I wasn't in the penthouse. Okay, I was on the 30th floor. I'm okay with being on the 30th floor. You penthouse people can be in the penthouse all you want. I'm just saying, where I was, I felt a little special. Now I feel regular. I don't want to be regular.
That's okay. It's just that more people are moving into the hotel. That's all. It's totally fine.
No, keep the riffraff out.
The riffraff. Just so you all know, that's B-Rock saying it, not me.
From not a full-time job.
From not a full-time job. Rusty, talk to me. Your thoughts on the showdown, if you don't mind sparing me a few.
Yeah, Showdown, I think, was pretty straightforward. What was great, though, was that prize wall that gave... I feel like it gave everyone that engaged with Showdown some really good choices. And the choices were walking away with a couple of things of value. And I was able to get some howdy shards.
Nice.
I was able to get... I can't remember when I got the drip, if I pulled the drip or if I got it in on that. But and then the JD or the Judgment Day moment, right? So
Yeah.
the moment and the howdy shards, like typically on a showdown weekend, you get like one thing. And like it felt like this particular weekend, the medallions were just kind of flowing in a way that I don't feel like they have been lately. So I think it was a particularly rewarding showdown.
Yeah, I'm very of the mindset when Showdown comes around that the regular skill plates are about 25,000 and the ultimate skill plates are about 40,000. That was not the case this past Showdown. There was like a Tama chest on there for like 14,000.
Yeah.
The new Devil's Drip skill plate wasn't even 15,000. The ultimate plate from the Buzzard weekend wasn't even 40,000. It wasn't even 30. It was like 25. So I think it was a combination that it felt like medallions were flowing a little bit more because they were flowing in the pulls, and because the wall this time around, the price tags on a lot of these things, it was just so much lower than what they normally would be. Like,
when you go from month to month, real quick, just on that point alone, was it 2,000, right, for the moment?
it was, I think it was 14.7 or 15.7, something like that.
And that, I mean, having CSS plays a fact in it, but I mean, that was pretty much free to play achievable, I think. I could be off on that, but it was a low number. And then compare it to last month where they wanted $900 freaking Wyatt 6 month.
Oh my god.
Big difference.
Yeah, that one Wyatt 6 moment is going to haunt me until they re-release it. I really wish I could find a way to, sink my claws into getting that moment, but I don't see it coming back around very soon or for very cheap, which is upsetting because by the time that you're going to even want to use these characters, that moment is going to be so outdated. It's going to feel just like it's the Sherry moment all over again. The Sherry moment will work, but those characters are not going to be top of the line characters like they once were when they first came out. Like Bam Bam Striker when he first came out, top of the line character. Sherry, best female striker when she first came out. Dusty Rhodes, best legend character in the game at that point in time. Like, it was top of the top. And now, not so much. But you could still get it if you want to give them, like, an arm. Maybe not an arm and a leg, but if you want to donate an arm, you can get it. But I'm hopeful.
So I am going to give Scopely some kudos because I believe the last couple of prize walls have been player friendly. That's the word I'm going to use. I'm going to use player friendly because we've been able to get multiple for the same price that one item has cost in the past.
Yep.
And I think I'm hoping that that's the trend and that we move forward with, to where if you want to make something, if you want to bring back, just say Ozzy's gear, and you want to charge out of the moon for it, fine. But if you bring back, 2 other pieces for a reasonable price, I think you're going to have a far greater reach throughout the community with these prize walls. Because like I said, I don't give Scopely kudos very often, but I'm going to give them to him now that, the way the prize walls have been going, I think that has been very player friendly.
They definitely have been trending in a more positive direction for sure. Cannot argue that one bit.
And that's all because of Two Bob's podcast.
I wish. But yeah, I mean, look, the showdown itself, it was to me pretty prize wall friendly, pretty player friendly in regards to the things that we needed to do to complete the tasks. Pretty rewarding for a lot of players out there. I even remember Evo hopping into voice chat and was like, I don't really see anything on this prize wall. And I'm like, you don't though? Like, brand new skill plate, brand new moment. Like, there are things here, and I get it from his perspective that he was also kind of mentally checked out, and the flip side was he had already gotten those things because he had spent his prize wall, and he's like, and I'm sitting on 20 or 30k prize wall, nothing to get. I'm like, I get it, that it's not appealing once you've already gotten everything, but there were things there. There was also, for people that didn't have them, like Rusty mentioned, Uncle Howdy shards. There was Abby the Witch shards, which we were just talking about how much people are going to need to play months and months and months of marquee tours for, or you can just get it off of the prize wall, right? Like, there definitely seemed like there was a good chunk of positivity in regards to what a lot of players could get from that wall. And I feel like that did cover everybody from the penthouse on down. That's what I felt. I felt there was enough new stuff for the people that are at the very top that they can get new stuff, whether it's a moment, a skill plate, both of it, maybe a second skill plate for someone that they want to use in Feud and that they can have 2 of them instead of just 1 of them. Shards for a lot of people that are trying to get close or recruiting people such as Jacob Fatu or Howdy and Abby, who are just the most new recent additions to players' rosters. Even Tech Charlotte, which we were talking about that some people didn't have, she was on that wall too. So there was a lot going with that prize wall that a lot of people got to pick up some quality wins from is kind of what my take was. And I don't think that the requirements of like needing to do damage with a Hogan or damage with Sammy or any of that type of stuff, that wasn't really that earth shattering that time around. At least that's my own take, right? Maybe I'm completely off and missing the mark, but I feel like as a whole, Showdown was actually pretty well received by a lot of folks, even if it was just another Showdown. So that's unless we have other stuff to want to talk about the Showdown, that's all I've got for it. And we can move on to the 12 Jays of Christmas. So anybody else on the Showdown before we move on?
I'd say, Bob, I'd love to say, in contrast to all of the great things we just said about the Showdown, the 12 Jays of Christmas prize wall is very confusing. And very difficult. If you're going hard after Jay and you don't get Jay, the rest of that wall is really a letdown. And so I think people are going to fall short and be pissed that they're choosing from other things they already have or fuses for people they don't want to take up, say like Mae Young. I wish they would rework it. I wish they would add all of the things that we're saying feels like have been left out of prize walls, like the American Made moment, or the Aussie gear, or the Immortal Hulk gear, the Buzzard plate. Any number of things could have made that 12 Jays of Christmas consolation prizes very, very, very good and rewarding, and yet here we are.
So I'll actually piggyback off of that too, Rusty. I was privy enough and honored to be allowed onto one of the dev and player phone calls. And one of the things that that my fellow faction representatives and all that voted me in, so I could actually hear from some of the developers and give my own feedback on. One of the things that I did mention at that point in time and during that call was the Technician Charlotte gear, and trying to make that available for players moving forward. And I believe I recall both you and Lee on that call were very adamant about if there was a way to get that gear moving forward, that you would be interested in doing so. And they made that gear available on the November We're Here month-long midweek prize wall. But do you think that something of that caliber would have been good to add to this 12 Jays prize wall? Even if it was a little more on the pricey side of presents, but do you think it would make sense to do that? Or would that kind of be a miss?
No, absolutely. You look at the stocking stuffer prize wall, it's laughable. And you can't opt in to the presents prize wall. They could have made this similar to the pizza, where you can, if you're on the free wall, you can buy currency for the better wall. There's so many just little upgrades they could have done to make this very rewarding, and yet it just falls short. It falls short.
Yeah. Well,
I'd argue to counter on that. We're talking about the present prize wall, right? For the 12 days.
Yes.
Yeah, I'd argue to counter that as someone who's been chasing, whether it is smart or not, Santa Hogan. Just those on the wall, I think, used to be so much more pricey. And now I've spent quite a bit on this, so I have quite a bit of prize wall. I don't know what the answer is at in regards to the presents, but to get, I would assume 45, 50,000 would be pretty average, I think, for that prize wall. And that's 3,000 Santa shards. And they give away the 3-star again, which was great for newer players to have access to it. But I think with how stingy they have been in the past with Santa shards, especially July Christmas last year and last year's actual Christmas event, I thought this was a great chance to work on your Santa, which is a card that, to be honest, really improves anyone's roster.
So let's kind of circle back to what we're talking about here for the listeners on YouTube. The 12 Jays of Christmas has arrived. Jey Uso Yeet has made his way into the game with a gear, with a skill plate. And again, we alluded to this skill plate a little earlier on. It is an ultimate skill plate, the Yeet plate, plus 500% all gem damage whenever you make 6 or more column break gems. Santa Hogan also receiving a new bonus, which is up to 50% health now at 6-star gold. And there's also a Powerhouse Hogan buff to his boost move from 45% all the way up to 350% as of the time of this recording. So lots to talk about in regards to this event. It is a 12-day event, hence the 12 Jays of Christmas. A lot of daily tasks, which I'm sure if you are listening to this on YouTube, you've probably seen some of my content on, which is tours, blitzes, and unfortunately some pulls. There's been showdowns, there's been a daily spend event, there is the Yeet skill plate in the 12-day spend event that the daily spend event feeds into, and there is the blitz that we were just talking about that Rusty was mentioning in regards to the stocking stuffer side of things, which you can get some stockings for a different prize wall in the game. And there are tours each and every singular day of the 12 days. So plenty to talk about. Also, if you did get Yeet on Tuesday or Monday, there was a 24-hour tour for him, which had some metal bits, some skill plates, some straps. And if you get him before Friday, which was yesterday, I believe, before the 20th, yes, you could earn a mystery Santa gift, which we still have no information on as of this point in time. So lots to talk about. We could talk about the character himself. We could talk about the skill plates as a whole now with everybody who you're planning on using them on. We can go back to discussing the prize walls. We can talk about Santa. We could talk about Powerhouse Hogan, both of their buffs. Lots to discuss in the 12 days, the 12 Jays of Christmas.
So, Bob, first I want to welcome Rusty to the penthouse. Based on what Rusty just shared, I'm just going to say this. I think the prize wall is better than I think he realizes, only because you can get a 6-star gold Ramblin' Rabbit poster. And I'm talking average. That's 20,000, gift boxes. So that's a great you're getting a 6-star gold for 20 grand. You can get, because there's still a lot of people who, believe it or not, don't have Jacob Fatu. You have him at 6-star gold. You have a lot of people who still don't have Jade Cargill. She's been required. I don't even have Jade Cargill, so she's at 60,000. So there's definitely options. I know everybody's gunning for the 100,000 to get Jay, because that's what I'm gunning for. But I think the second tier is better than we realize, because you even have Bret Hart for training ability, 6-star gold at like 34,000. So I think these are, and then obviously Evo was talking about the Santa tokens. So there's a lot in here, but for some of us outside of B-Rock, you all may have all of these people already, and you probably already have them at 6-star gold, Rusty included, because now I'm looking up to Rusty because he's like, yeah, I got all these people. What do I need these people for? So based upon that, though, I think the prize wall is really, really good. I want to be like Rusty when I grow up.
Sensei, you around? Talk to me. What's your thoughts on the 12 days?
I'm here. This is
Yeah, I want to get it out of the way, baby. Talk to me.
It's just disappointing. I mean, they have all these presents and all these prizes, and I think the prize, well, as others have said, is better than what Rusty has said. But when I'm getting at max 200 gifts from each of those Santa bags, well, what can I get?
How much prize wall are you sitting at right now? How many presents?
I'm sitting on 19,000. Now I
Yeah.
haven't spent that much. I will say that, and I've just been spending to get 1 or 2 pulls a day so I can get some of that the daily delivery, whatever the hell it's called, the leaderboard, the daily leaderboard that gives you so many intertwined contests.
Yep.
Hold on. And the other thing is, it's official, and I'm an exact opposite opinion of what Evo said. This is the death of Santa Hogan. Unless you're new and you just got him, that's it. Realistically, like, I've had him at 5-star silver now for over a year and a half, and he's just not. I mean, I could probably get enough tokens this time to take him to gold, but for what? To go from 3450 to 4500 gem damage? It's over. The Santa Hogan, unless you're willing to spend, penthouse money, Santa Hogan's dead. He's just dead. He is what he is. He's good to get you to that +1 MP, and then after that, everything else that they show you when you look at the entourage, it's not achievable.
It's also really not that impressive, to be honest. It like the upgrade to being health this time around, I just didn't see any reason myself to go absolutely ape over trying to get an obscene amount of tokens just to take him up. It's not there's not enough value in it. If they made him +2 as a coach, then maybe you would start seeing some crazy spending or more people spending insane money. But the fact that it's health, it's not enough. He already had move damage on him. He already had all these numbers on gem damage on him. Everything else was the same. It's just a health bump. And that's nice and all, but it's really not that helpful.
That 6-star gold upgrade 100% is kind of trash compared to what was already there. But having that card, ability to get it to 6-star bronze at minimum, if you do enough in the event, which honestly, I know since they just said it, I'm surprised at how low the gift he's at, even with spending a little here and there. Is I wonder if it's more backloaded at present.
Yeah.
I'm personally at like 150,000.
Yeah, there's a massive disparity.
I don't even know how it's possible to be that high. I mean, if every single bag is giving between, like, I mean, I've had a couple that were better, but like, even if you hit the top end of the RNG for those bags, you still get 2.5% of what you need for Jey Uso. But it's just, and maybe there's more coming on Monday. Maybe there's something that they haven't, because there is things they haven't told us about yet. But it's not feasible.
It's a tough one for sure. So this, and there's no other way to say it. The facts of the matter are the facts. This is definitely another glorified spend event. That's what this is. You can definitely get some stuff for playing the game. To B-Rock's point, you could probably get The Miz, Mae Young, Ramblin' Rabbit at 6-star gold. Obviously, Karrion Kross and Razor are cheaper than the Rabbit. But this is indeed a glorified spend event. I don't think there's any way around that at all. And don't get me wrong, right? There's some good characters on that wall. Like there's Maxine is great, Jacob's great, Jade Cargill's fantastic, Jay himself, awesome. Bret Hart got mentioned. Bret's a great coach, and honestly, I'm actually going to make a video of Bret Hart as a fighter very soon here. I think he's pretty good. But this is definitely a big time spend event for sure. And it's Santa. It's Santa. That's what this always comes down to. It's the tokens for Santa, which, to Sensei's point, unless you're going really far in on this one, you're just not really going to get a whole lot of bang for your buck on Santa. I even think I saw Rusty mention he's at 5-star bronze of Santa Hogan. I don't think Rusty's going to go ape crazy about spending for getting a 6-star bronze Santa from his 5-star bronze.
Yeah, you're right, Bob, about the spend element. And I think part of my frustration is that there's going to be a second wall next week with candy cane currency. And so I don't, okay, like I feel like I went pretty hard on this Jey Uso event, and I've got like maybe 40K currency with, and now the goalposts are shifting. So now it's candy canes.
Yep.
And it's like, gosh, how can the currency, if the currencies don't translate across the walls, like I kind of said with the pizza, then it just feels like, okay, well, if you're not impressed by the presents, try, spend hundreds and hundreds on this new wall. And it's like, oh my gosh, week one, I'm tapping out, and I can't keep going, and yeah, and so that's where it's just kind of like maybe I'm not, and I hope I didn't, I guess, misrepresent. Like, I just don't get that excited about posters. I feel like posters and shards are kind of what we're always playing for, and so on these super special walls, I would love to see gear, moments, plates, the Judgment Day plate, stuff that I have no chance of getting throughout the year, and then go, oh, whoa, now there's a shot. I got a shot at Ozzy's gear again. I've got a shot at everything I missed out on this year that was out of reach. Maybe that's the consolation prize.
Right. You want some fancier stuff instead of the stuff that you can probably just get by playing the game. Like, you're most likely going to be able to get Ramblin' Rabbit shards in the near future. So what's the point in trying to get the 6-star gold poster versus filling up that item spot with a JD plate, or with a Tech Charlotte gear, or with an Aussie gear, and I think you're pretty spot on there.
Well, and I think I'd feel different too if maybe the posters on the wall were Abby, or Howdy, or Zombie LA Knight. Obviously CM Punk. The things that I felt that were so far out of reach in previous months, right?
Yeah. I think that, a lot of these things that, and again, I think it's a double-edged sword, because I think where you're coming from, and it makes sense, I think is also what B-Rock keeps alluding to, that a lot of us towards the top end or the higher end of things are under the impression that those things that are so out of reach could possibly be attainable, but there's still people that are so far away from those things that it's like, I'm never going to get it, that they don't even think about those things as being possible items or possible drops or possible prize wall claims. And because of that, they kind of avoid even adding them to the wall.
Yeah, no, that's really good perspective.
And also, I to kind of piggyback too on your message here of the screenshot, that there's going to be a week 2 with the candy canes. This feels very reminiscent of when Shredder and Cody Jones came out, when everybody was inundated with Shredder masks or trying to chase Shredder masks for their turtles or what have you. And then, all of a sudden, week 2 comes around and weekend 2 comes around. And here we go with Cody Jones. And I feel like that's going to be the same thing this time around. But instead of Cody and instead of Jey, because this time around, Jey is now the Shredder, but more out of reach than Shredder, because they're not putting him in a milestone that people can just get him out of the milestone. Jey is a more expensive version of Shredder, and the weekend for Cody Jones is no longer for Cody Jones, but it's going to be for Jey's gear and the Yeet plate. And so it's 2 entirely different prize walls, 2 entirely different objectives. And it almost feels, maybe it's just me, at least in Turtles, if you didn't get, Shredder or Leonardo or whatever it is, there was a Cody Jones thing you could attempt to get on the back end. If this is all just going to circle around Jey Uso gear and the Yeet Ultimate Plate, what's the point of trying to go so above and beyond, like you mentioned, spending hundreds and hundreds to try and get the gear for a character you don't even own? That's where I'm kind of hung up on it, that I'm not really thrilled with the prospect of the Candy Cane week 2 of the 12 days event prize wall, whatever you want to term it.
And I'm gonna actually even expand further on that. Even if you own Jey Uso, which I went through and got, that man don't need that gear. He don't need the Yeet plate. It's extra. I just don't see it how you're gonna entice people to chase if it's crazy expensive because it's just not needed. Personally, in my
it feels like a miss on this one, where everybody, not everybody, let me watch my words here, practically everyone that I had interacted with on numerous Twitch streams, in the podcast, in the server, in the faction, there was something good to say about the Turtles event. Even if it was the bare bones basic, I got Shredder, he's the best free character I've ever gotten. There was something positive, universal. But when it comes to this and the 12 Jays contest, there is not as much positivity surrounding this contest, which feels very similar to the 2-week Turtle event, and I find that very interesting, even with the addition of getting Santa tokens to make your Santa stronger. And to Sensei's point, there's not enough, to a lot of people's point here, that they did try to chase or they did invest in the event. They don't feel like they're getting their bang for their buck, where they did feel like they were during the Turtles event. And so that's, and again, maybe this is just my skewed outlook. I don't know, and I fully own up to, if that's the case, that's my ignorance, and I am not feigning ignorance. I'm being truly honest here. I just don't think that this was as well received as the Turtles event, and I don't think there's enough context as to why it was not as well received. That's kind of where my hang up is on the 12 Jays event.
Just to restate what I already stated, I think the reason why it's negative for me because of the Santa Hogan thing. Like, I use him every day. Like, at some point, I'm either taking him off of someone or putting him on, and I know, and like, every time I do it, I look and I go, wait till Christmas, you little bastard, I'm going to take it. And then he can't go up. And actually, I think I might be able to take him to gold this time. Like, if I get enough presence, I should be able to take him to gold. But it's not, it's this mind I have decided that, like I said before, it's dead. Santa Hogan's dead. And that is just completely deflating and disappointing and makes getting, say, Maxine Dupree at 6 gold. Makes it just seem underwhelming.
Yeah, I don't know. As someone who's personally chased Santa and trying to get those tokens, I just felt the greater availability of getting them now at a cost, to be honest, compared to what it was before. I'm kind of lost myself as people aren't seeing it that way. But I mean, again, I have it. But I was excited to finally be able to work on it, to get him to a more competitive level for a card that I use, like you said, every day on multiple people. It's to me very valuable.
Now, if this Candy Cane prize wall is similar to the Casey Jones prize wall, where I think that was the one where we were able to get like all those skill plates and stuff, it'll be a little better. But overall, a negative for me.
Talk to me, B-Rock.
So my thought process, and I think this is a little bit um, of, we'll just say, negative advertising. Scopely said, "Ooh, new Jey Uso." Right? Everybody was like, "Oh yeah, this is, let's talk about it. He's a likable character on TV. That's number one. One of the reasons why I want him. He's a striker, which my strikers are poor. And when I look at it, I'm like, okay, this is somebody I gotta have. I want to have him. I need him for my roster. This is what I need." The Shredder event, until people started really making, until content creators made videos, the Shredder wasn't looked at as a I gotta have. It was looked at, oh, this is a fun event, and it wasn't looked at as I gotta have this guy. They revamped Raphael, revamped Donatello. Then all of a sudden, the Shredder event took the Turtle event took on a lot of steam, and then it got ramped up, and then it was like, oh yeah, Shredder's great. In this case, it was brand new Jey Uso, 12 days, get him by the 20th. This, that. So now everybody's like, yes, gotta get it. And then we see the price tag. So I think that I think that's the thought process of why it feels like it's not as good as the Turtle event. And I think that kind of is more of, hey, we got hyped up for this guy. We really didn't get hyped up for Shredder. And I'm gonna really put it into perspective, and some people, and yes, I'll stick my toe into the penthouse again. I just pulled OTC Roman. I was disappointed because I wanted Jey.
What?
I wanted Jey. I was like, I need Jey. I'm gonna get Jey. Yes, yeah. And I was just like, damn. Not that he's not great. Not that I know what level he is, and where I have him. All of that is fantastic. Not what I wanted.
Oh,
So,
B-Rock.
in the spirit of Christmas, remember Ralphie, Christmas Story. He wanted the red BB gun rider thing, and he got all this other stuff. Yeah, it was great, but it wasn't what he wanted. It wasn't what he really, really wanted. So I think that's where people are getting the prize walls. Like, yeah, this prize wall sucks. And then there's another one behind it. I'm not gonna get what I want.
I mean, I think the issue is that everybody, especially in this game, really wants the brand new thing, brand new shiny. That's how it always works. I think it's crazy to me that you were not thrilled to get OTC. That's just a me thing.
It's my new favorite. It's my new favorite roundtable moment. It used to be Southside Envy, an original tail clapper, but now it's like I pulled OTC and I'm disappointed. But yeah.
Oh man, but yeah, I mean, look, it always comes down to the brand new shiny. So Jey is great. His skill plates are great. His gear for sure is going to make him insanely great, even though he already is very, very, very good. But that's what it comes down to. Everybody wants the brand new shiny. That's how this game always works.
Just as a quick side note, in Showdown with Jey Uso maxed out without any plates, he's doing 300 million in 4 clicks. The gear to me is like kind of ridiculous.
Yeah.
So Bob, you and I have had this conversation before. You know my Acro J is 6-star gold.
Yes, I do. I know you're a
Fully
big time
maxed.
Jey fan.
That's fair then, because you're a mark for
Yes.
Jey.
Yes. So that, look, I have a 6-star silver tech Jey Uso.
Yeah.
Okay, and that was an accident. I'm just gonna say that. That was an accident.
I get it, B-Rock. Jey Uso is your original tribal chief. I respect it.
Hey,
So-
B-Rock, question for you. Do you
Yes.
refer to the people in your faction as the peons? I mean, how does that work?
Believe it or not, I'm not in the top 10 of rosters in my own faction, so it's okay.
It's,
Yeah, don't believe it. I don't believe that.
It's the riff-raff, Sensei. It's the riff-raff.
What do you mean? You could go in. You could look. I'm not top 10.
Oh my god!
I'm
Yeah.
11,
Meanwhile, he's sitting in 11th place, like 100 talent away from 10th.
On his fully maxed VIP 13 level go. I don't like any of you spenders out there.
All right. Well, anything else on the 12 Jays of Christmas that we got to talk about? Because there was a lot. And I'm realizing this podcast is going. So anything else that we want to talk about for the 12 Jays before we move on to our current weekend feud event? Going once, going twice. Sold to the Feathers of Frost feud event. So this weekend is Lyra Valkyria weekend. It is a 20-hour female feud. For those of you that remember the Feud Salvation, that format is back. So you have to win 10 matches with each class in the game, and you have to win 6 matches with every era that is not PG or modern. So Attitude, Legend, Ruthless Aggression, Reality Era, Hall of Fame, and New Gen. That's right, New Gen. So all of those need to be won with 6 times. There's a few CSS out there, which to me, pretty freaking tough list. Consisting of, obviously, Lyra on the weekend, Indy Hartwell, Tech Charlotte, Roxanne, Tech Becky the Legend, Io Sky, Acro Bianca, and Maxine Dupree. So definitely an interesting shakeup this time around. No faction event at all this weekend. The only faction-related component is the War Score rewards, which it has those gold, silver, and bronze chests in them again. They look different. They have a little Christmas shine to them, I guess, with their red and green colors all over them. No information in regards to what's in those chests this time around, if it's changed or not, to my knowledge. And the requirements for Feud for the lanes, Lyra is the top lane, Indy is the middle lane, and everything else is effectively open with classes or a raw slot for the tag link is fine. Definitely an interesting prize wall this time around. Plenty of skill plates, lots of shards, and 150% gem damage straps make their way into the fray on the prize walls as well. And last but certainly not least, there are the new scoring methods. So outside of the fact that we have classes and eras for the CSS, the scoring methods have been reduced. It is no longer 300k for the first time win, it is 250. It is no longer 300k for defeating a 6-star gold character, but instead it is just above 200,000. It is exactly 200,000, and your 6-star silvers have gone from 175 down to 125,000. So a decrease across the board in War Score itself. And as we alluded to earlier in the podcast, both Macho Man and RVD got upgraded trainer abilities. Blue gem damage at 6-star gold is 60% more. So lots to talk about for this feud weekend. Anybody with their initial thoughts? And are they looking forward to the feud?
Go ahead, Evo.
After you, sir.
No, I was gonna say I really, really like the new format with having to win, like you mentioned, 10 of each class or whatever. Even though it is a little more difficult with females. And for me personally, it doesn't work because, like I've mentioned a million times, I work on Saturday nights, so regular feuds like this one really don't jive well with me. But hopefully, I have a schedule change incoming soon, so maybe I will have Saturday nights off. But I hope they keep this format going forward. I just think it's a lot better. It encourages more play for everyone, which is it's not a bad thing. I mean, and it also encourages more play in a way that you don't have to do it if you don't want to. Like, you can do whatever you want in Feud, and you can still get whatever you like. There's no, how do I put this? Hold on, let me gather my thoughts. I'll be back.
Yeah, I'm on the same boat where I'm going to be a little working tomorrow. But I do, you know, the just hearing now about the reduced scoring method. But to be honest, thinking about the number of CSS and unique wins that we do have to get, I think it'll balance out. So I think that's fine. Just a matter of finding the time to do the required brawls with requiring some of these errors. Oof. But it should be funny. You know, again, it adds interest. It's not the same old thing. It's not go in there and hit 10 matches with 3 superstars and you're done. This time it's going to be a little more involved. And by the time you get through all that, if you do complete all that, you'll be you should be close enough on the war score that you need anyway.
So I went ahead and I looked into it. It's the same as last time. You get 324 million points out of the 500 million if you want to max out the event. I myself will most likely not be reaching 500 mil. I don't think that there is enough justification for me to grind as much as is going to be necessary to do that. The amount of time it's going to take to get these female CSS wins, and yes, I'm sure there's going to be other people who are trying to use their not so great characters to get their CSS wins for the era. I'm not really going to enjoy feuding that way. That's a me thing. It needs to be an everybody thing. I'm not thrilled with being pigeonholed into a corner. I don't mind being incentivized towards using different parts of my roster. I don't like when it's, okay, win 6 matches with Alundra Blaze because she's the only new gen female. Win 6 matches with Showboat Charlotte Flair because she's the only good reality era. Win 6 matches with Stacy or Molly, depending on which one you have you worked up high enough 6 times because that's the only good Ruthless Aggression characters. Win 6 matches with Trish Stratus, Canadian Icon, if you have her, or try and find somebody else to make work. It's just too limiting for me to enjoy the idea of doing that. When I get to use different people on my roster, that's fun. When I get to mess around and break out characters that have Omega defense builds and see people do negative gem damage, that's fun for me. I enjoy that type of stuff. But the idea that I have to go out of my way to invest all these resources into these people, the coins, the TP, the straps, the skill plates, the medals, the trainers, the coaches, I'm not interested in investing that much into people that I'm never going to use outside of this one time when they're required. It's just not a fun experience for me. And after going through all that for all the CSS to then be told, hey, by the way, war score's been reduced, have fun going out there and earning another 170 million war score with the reduced numbers, that's also kind of lame, in my opinion. But the big thing that the overarching thing for me on this one, this change was good when it was the female-male feud. The female-male feuds had 18 hours and another 18 hours. 36 hours of feud, for me, way too much feuding. Just way too much feuding on a weekend. So the fact that it's a 20-hour feud, I'm glad that the timing is back to normal. I'm not glad that none of it changed for the better. It wasn't like we took a 36-hour feud event and turned it into a 20-hour feud event. We just took a 36-hour feud event and made it into a 20-hour feud event. Everything's the same, except, oh yeah, here's the caveat, the score is less. That's what I don't like. I don't know how many people even hit 500 million points in that feud event after the first feud last time, but it's not going to just be a walk in the park for people. This feels like you have to stay up for an extended period of time, or you have to spend money on steps and speed up perks and all that jazz. And I don't really want to have to do that. It's already bad enough that I'm going to be grinding through with a lot of these characters that I don't really want to use, to then have to be like, okay, now finally time to put my grind face on and pump out 160, 170 million points. It's just going to be, for me, my perspective, and I get it, different perspective than a lot of people. It does not feel like it's going to be a very fun, enjoyable, I can't wait to play the game weekend. It's going to just be I'm going to do it because I'm going to do it. And don't get me wrong, I see Bluesky just made the comment, he made 500 pretty easy last time. I for sure did too, but I also did that over 36 hours of Feud, which 18 of them were male, not 20 hours of female Feud. And that's where there's a big hang up from me. But that's my take. Envy, I saw you unmuted. You want to chime in on this one?
Yeah, so I like the new format somewhat, except for the fact of what you said about having to use people like Alundra Braze and that. When they expanded to the men's roster, I got what I could get done with the women. I pretty much knocked out everything except for New Gen and saved the New Gen for the men. So it's it's not really great when you only have one character or something or two characters or something. At least we don't have to do Wendy in the Legends no more. But
Yep.
everything else, yeah, I mean, it's just good enough to try to see if I can hit 500. Probably not going to do it, but it's a nice stretch. And I guess they need to get back to the stretches because I hit 500 last time when it was male and female lineup. So maybe this one will make it a challenge like they used to have it, and maybe I'll get it. Maybe I won't. I guess I won't be stressed one way or another as long as I get those prize money medallions so I can get me Charlotte maybe.
Technician.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm rooting for you. Anybody else on the Feud weekend? We got lots to discuss. Did I lose you, B-Rock?
No, I'm here. Sorry. For some reason, it just didn't pop there for a second.
Oh,
So
good.
I'm a fan of the new format. It brings a little bit of levity to the feud when against people you're feuding. I'm gonna tell you one of my favorite feuds of all time was, remember that Dynamic 9 feud? Do you
everybody,
remember that?
everybody hated that
That was
feud.
I love that feud. Do you know why? Because it made everybody the same. You had to use specific characters. I mean, you had to feud with Mark Henry.
Yep.
So, yeah,
And Honky
you
Tonk
know,
Man.
yep, exactly. So it made you actually have to play the game. It made you have to be to do certain things in order to get your wins. I am a fan of Feud. That's my favorite gameplay game style that within this game. With that being said, I like all of this. There's nothing that I don't like about the fact that it's making us use specific people. Now, the credit for using different people needs to be tweaked a little bit, because I'm like Sensei Kreese. Sensei Kreese and I are really close when it comes to, hey, I work 5 o'clock at night on Saturday to 2 o'clock in the morning on Sunday. So my feud time is cut pretty much in half. So now I got a feud to get my numbers and get where I need to do in a shorter amount of time. And, you know, men are obviously better characters than the women and hit harder and faster. So it's going to take a little longer because you don't have that many, turn ones in each class like you do with the men. That's my only downside.
Yeah. I mean, there's definitely some hitters nowadays for sure. It's just It's just going to be a pain.
I think the biggest disappointment you mentioned, there's no PG requirement ever. Did you say that? There's no PG?
There's no PG.
So Natalia was about to do work, but I guess I confused her. But yeah, I mean, I don't mind it. It's different. I don't mind innovation, changing stuff a little bit. Is it something that could be a 36 hour? Sure, but for me, it's just Feud was never been difficult. Maybe adding a little more difficulty to it, make it fun for me personally.
Yeah, I mean, there's going to be a lot going around this weekend for sure when it comes to the Feud. A lot. I know that this is obviously doable. I know there's people that did this last time around. They got all their CSS done on the first Feud. There's people that hit their 500 mil on the first Feud. So obviously, is it doable? Yeah, it's doable. The process of it, again, my perspective, I don't think I'm going to have as much fun as I would during a regular Feud. That's going to be my take on it.
Can we get an old style Feud where we got to use like Showboat Cena and Powerhouse Roman and I'm trying to think of who the tech was. Like, can we get original 12? Have something like that where it's gonna make people actually have to put together and make these people relevant in today's meta, so to speak. Let's have one of them. I get that you got to have whatever new character that comes out that people got to buy for. I get that. But, sometimes, something like that may bring a little bit more, I'm going to just say for me, fun.
If you bring back steel cage rules where you can actually make them do damage, sure.
Yeah.
I mean, other than that, I mean, the health pool is you can bring them up to 6-star gold all you want and try to do damage. You're going to hit 25 million against 70 million health, and that is not going to be fun. So, and then I would also bring back 5-person lineup too, but that's just me being a glutton for punishment.
What the hell is wrong with you?
I will never support the idea of 5v5
no
feuds.
5-star.
I will never support the idea of 5v5 feuds ever again in this game. It's bad enough trying to get one good partner. Getting 4 of them is ridiculous. I mean, there's an idea though, like Evo said, of steel cage feuds again. Everybody hated the no trainer, no coach feuds, which I kind of figured would have been the most hated one, and lo and behold, it was. That was a toughie. I mean, there's a decent idea, right, to put a release date on a character. Like, just make a new tag link or whatever they call it, right? They already have a bunch of them, like ring royalty. It doesn't do anything. It's just, hey, this character is a king or queen, whatever. Fine. Put a release date link. This character came out in 2017. This character came out in 2018, 2019, 2020. Something like that. And then you could have a feud with one of each year that the character came out in. You don't have to fill up those, sections, but you could if you want to. Hey, here's my 2024 character, my 23, my 22, my 21, etc. You could do that if you really want to kind of separate what you can and can't use, and you go from there. But it's there's a lot of flexibility they could do. Sorry, go ahead, Sensei.
They had that with the earlier zombies. Like, they would label the zombies, these are 2017 zombies,
Yeah.
these are 2018 zombies. But let me also say, for the I think it's going to be weird for me to say this on how to improve Feud as a whole, and it really doesn't pertain to you Penthouse players. I'm talking to you, B-Rock. Can we? I mean, I think we're to the point now where I think we can change the timer for each brawl. How about we make it 20 minutes instead of 30 minutes? I think that would make a lot more people enjoy Feud more. Because when you got to sit around and wait, I know it doesn't happen in a lot of the, upper echelon, factions.
Oh, no, it happens.
But I mean, if you can't get it done in 20 minutes, well, what are we doing? Well, we need another 10? No, just go on to the next one. Get more points next time. I think what that does is it makes everyone's experience better, and it also teaches you how to build a better feud lineup, which there's a big percentage of the people that have no idea how to build a lineup.
Or how about just exiting the brawl? Give an exit button. Yeah, you're on your own, bud. You're there with 10 more dudes. You're stuck for 20 minutes. I'm going on to the next one. It's
Chaos theory.
I mean, yeah, the issue with that one, Evo, and what B-Rock just said, it used to be Chaos Protocol. The issue with that is, and it's the same concept that we were told as representatives for our factions, years ago. It's called, and the same thing with Faction Boss 2, it's called Faction Feud. It's called Faction Boss. Not Friend Feud. Not Friend Boss. So for the same reason that we can't make lobbies that we can only let certain people into so that you can queue with a partner, like a designated person that is running a similar talent lineup as yours or a similar speed as yours, or someone that you're communicating with in a voice chat, it's not for the friends, it's for the faction. And that's the concept, which I don't support that idea of thinking personally. I feel like it's holding off and blockading progression to what Sensei said of how to make Feud better. And it's unfortunate, but who knows? Maybe it's something they can implement in the future. But I do agree with Sensei, though. The 20-minute Feud, not a bad idea at all. It's a good upgrade.
They did those. Like, when they would do Flash Feud, like before, they would have like one Flash Feud where there would be like a minimum of 3, and there'd be a 20-minute timer, and it was awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And what I can do is if you want, after this, I can go into the forum, and I can make a post that'll be completely ignored by everybody, and probably get a smart-ass comment from one of the moderators. So that would be awesome, because I need to be fired up about something.
I'd even suggest 15 minutes. 15 minutes gives you 4 brawls an hour at most, which honestly would help a lot of people, even if they are slow as hell.
The 15 minutes is a problem for people that don't have ×2 speed.
So Evo is flexing his gold penthouse key right now because look, I feud. I'm pretty okay at it, and I can get 8 done in roughly about 17 minutes, and I don't do 2 times speed because they're not getting my money for that. So for me, and that's male, obviously, but I can get 8 done in 16, 17 minutes.
Okay.
So 20.
Without the 2 times speed, I didn't buy it last feud myself, and I was clearing 9 people in about 13. So I mean, that's about right. Yeah.
So he's got a super gold key to the penthouse. Yeah.
And
your 8 drip cleats, man.
Each time you talk, all right? Looking at us, sprinkling us with little tidbits of gold and PP. Here you go, peons. Take all this.
Riffraff. It's called Riffraff. I would never call it.
But I will say, I guess I'm odd in that my women's feud roster is a million times better than my men's feud roster, and I have no idea why.
Yeah,
it's just a comfort zone with your lineups, man. That's all it is. But yeah, I mean, anything else on the feud? Other than that, I think our podcast is done here. All right. Well, let's go ahead and wrap up the podcast. Huge shout out and thank you to everyone for showing up for volume number 7. Definitely got a lot of content in that time around. Plenty of things that took place from last 2 weeks to this 2 weeks. Huge shout out. Thank you all for joining. Big love to B-Rock for not oversleeping today. Appreciate you. Evo, as always, thank you for showing on up. Sensei, I know that you were mentioning something went down, but very, very appreciative that you could pull up a chair and join us for the majority of the podcast as well. Envy, as always, thank you tremendously so. And I'm not sure if Rusty's going to listen to the playback to this or not, but he had to go about 20 minutes ago, right before we ended the podcast and started talking about the feud stuff. So big love and big shout out to Mr. Rusty Graves for joining us for the majority of this podcast. I really enjoyed this one. I thought this one was really, really fun, really interactive with a lot of the people that were hanging out in the live chat on the Discord server. We got to mention a couple of their comments in the podcast itself. So huge shout out to everybody that joined us there as well. If you're listening to this on the YouTube and want to join us next time, feel free to join the Discord in the link in the section below with all of the information about this video. Thank you once again to everybody who did show up. We will be live again in 2 weeks, 10 a.m. Eastern, Saturday the 4th. We will be live Saturday the 4th, January the 4th. The first podcast of 2025 will be upon us. And man, that's weird to say already, isn't it? But thank you all once again for showing up. Make sure to like the video if you haven't done so already. Make sure to subscribe to the channel if you want to be kept up to date for more of the Roundtable podcast content and anything else that I'm making out there. And make sure to share with each and every one of your friends that keeps asking about what is this podcast that Bob keeps talking about. So thank you all once again, and have a good one, everybody.
Thank you.